think I didn't do anything wrong. Just made a joke during dinner about my 30-something hookups before him. Everyone laughed except him. He didn't argue, didn't even blink, just smiled politely. The next morning, his side of the bed was empty, and my messages were marked, "Read." That's when I realized his silence wasn't confusion. It was goodbye. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. It was supposed to be a fun night. Just me, Noah, my brother Derek, and a few friends from work at a fancy new restaurant downtown. I had planned it all. Good lighting, expensive wine, the kind of setting that made everyone feel a little more interesting than they really were. Noah had been quiet all week, buried in code and client calls, so I wanted to bring him out, make him laugh again. I never meant to embarrass him. Not really. The night started well. We ordered too many appetizers, and I was on my second glass of wine before the entrees arrived. Derek was already telling one of his ridiculous stories about me in college, and everyone was laughing. That's when Amber leaned in and said, "Lydia, tell them about your dating streak before Noah. You were like the female version of Tinder itself." I rolled my eyes, pretending to be modest. "Oh, please, it wasn't that bad." Derek grinned. "How many was it? 30-something?" Everyone laughed, and I joined in. Too loud, too confident. I said, 31 technically, but I stopped counting after I met the real thing. I leaned over and patted Noah's hand. "Lucky number 31 right here." The table exploded with laughter. Amber almost spilled her drink. Derek clapped like it was a comedy show. But Noah just sat there, still as stone, his polite smile frozen in place. I thought he was just shy about public attention. He always was, so I tried to lighten the mood. "Come on, babe," I teased. "You should be proud. You beat the competition." He gave a small nod, the kind people give when they're pretending not to be angry. "Sure," he said quietly. "Proud." The silence that followed was sharp. Even Amber stopped laughing. I should have stopped there. I should have moved on, changed the topic, done anything except double down. But something about his calm expression made me want to push. "Don't tell me you're one of those guys who cares about numbers," I said with a smirk. "It's just history. Funny history." He looked at me, not coldly, not cruelly, just with that same quiet expression that made me feel suddenly small. "Funny," he repeated, as if testing the word. The conversation shifted awkwardly after that. Derek tried to cover for me, making another joke, but the air had already changed. I laughed too loudly, refilled my glass, pretended not to notice Noah's silence. I told another story about a bad date I'd had years ago, throwing my arms around, making everyone laugh again. It worked for a while. The laughter came back, but it sounded forced now, thinner. When dessert came, Noah stood up. "I'll get the check," he said. "Oh no, we're splitting," I said quickly. He shook his head. "It's fine." He paid, thanked the waiter, and said to the table, "It was a good night. I'll see you all around." Before I could even react, he was gone. Just like that. No scene, no argument, no slammed doors, just polite departure. Amber blinked at me. "Did he just leave?" Derek tried to laugh it off. "He's probably tired. You know how quiet guys get." I smiled tightly. "Yeah, he just needs air." But my stomach was sinking fast. Something in his tone, the calmness, had felt final. After the others left, I took an Uber home. I even rehearsed what I'd say when I walked in. A teasing, "You're so dramatic," maybe a kiss on the cheek to smooth it over. I expected him to be waiting on the couch, scrolling on his phone, but when I opened the door, the apartment was dark. His keys weren't on the hook, his laptop was gone. I called out, "Noah?" Nothing. I turned on the lights. His side of the closet was half empty. The suitcase we used for weekend trips was missing. At first I laughed. "Oh, come on, you're not actually doing this." I texted him, "You left your charger. Dramatic exit much? No response. 5 minutes later, I tried again. You're really overreacting. It was a joke. Still nothing. By midnight, I was pacing the living room, checking my phone every few seconds. Amber called. So, did he cool off? He left, I said flatly. Like left? His stuff's gone. She whistled. Wow. I mean, he's really sensitive. Exactly, I said, latching onto that word. Sensitive. He'll come back when he realizes how stupid this is. Sure, she said, but her voice didn't sound convinced. I stayed up most of the night refreshing my messages. Around 2 a.m., I finally saw a notification. Noah Trent viewed your story. I smiled. See? I told myself. He's watching. But the story he'd viewed was the boomerang I'd posted hours earlier of me raising a glass, captioned, "To being unfiltered, no regrets." The next morning, sunlight woke me. For a second, I forgot everything. Then I rolled over and saw the empty pillow beside me. The silence in the apartment wasn't just absence. It was finality. I checked my phone. No missed calls, no texts. Nothing but that one notification. Noah Trent seen at 11:47 p.m. I stared at the blank chat box, thumb hovering over the keyboard. But what could I even say? Sorry for telling the truth. Sorry for laughing. Instead, I typed, "You know me. I joke about everything. Don't take it so seriously." I waited. Minutes turned into an hour. Then I saw it. 3 dots appearing on the screen, then disappearing. No reply. For the first time, I felt something colder than guilt. Irrelevance. He wasn't arguing because he'd already decided not to. I looked around the apartment, at the half-empty shelves and open drawers, and thought of that quiet smile he gave me at dinner. It hadn't been anger at all. It had been closure. The morning dragged like a punishment. I made coffee, sat on the couch, and stared at my phone as if I could will it to light up. The apartment felt too big without his quiet noises, the sound of him typing, humming under his breath, opening drawers. I told myself he'd text by noon. He didn't. At 10, Amber called. So? She asked. So nothing, I said. Still gone? Yes. I tried to sound casual. He's probably at his brother's or something. Amber snorted. You're giving him too much credit. He's sulking, that's all. Don't let him win. Post something cute. Make him remember what he's missing. I rolled my eyes, but part of me wanted to listen. You really think that'll help? Men hate being the punchline, but they hate being ignored even more, she said. Remind him you don't need him to laugh. It sounded like solid logic at the time. I took a picture of myself at the kitchen counter, coffee in hand, smirking. I captioned it. Some people can't handle a woman with a history. Their loss. I hit post before I could overthink it. 15 minutes later, my mother called. Lydia, she said, voice clipped. Please take that post down. Good morning to you too, I muttered. Do you have to broadcast every feeling online? You sound defensive. I'm not defensive, I'm confident. Confidence doesn't need witnesses, she said. You're making things worse. I stared at the wall. You don't even know what happened. I know enough. Derek told me what you said at dinner. You humiliated that poor man. Everyone was laughing, I said too quickly. She sighed. Except him. When I hung up, I felt cornered. Everyone made it sound like I'd committed some kind of crime. It wasn't like I lied. I'd been open about my past from the start. Isn't that supposed to be healthy? Honesty? At lunch, I tried calling Noah again. Straight to voicemail. His recorded voice, calm, polite, distant, made my skin crawl. I left a message. Hey, can we please talk like adults? You're blowing this out of proportion. Still nothing. By the afternoon, I was pacing the apartment, my nerves burning. I couldn't stand the silence anymore, so I texted Derek. Have you heard from him? A few minutes later, he replied, He texted me this morning. Said he's fine. Fine where? I wrote. Didn't say. Just said he needed space. That word again. Space. I'd always hated it. Space meant absence. Space meant punishment disguised as maturity. When evening came, I went to our favorite sushi place, ordered his usual, and sat alone at the bar, pretending he might walk in. The waiter recognized me. Just you tonight? Yeah, I said, smiling too brightly. Just me. He nodded and walked away. I scrolled through old photos while I waited, the trips we took, the silly selfies. In every picture, I looked like I was performing. He looked like he was watching. Patiently. Quietly. Maybe even warningly. My phone buzzed then. Finally. A message from Noah. It was only one paragraph, but it knocked the air out of me. You made a joke about me being a number. I'm not angry. I just don't want to be with someone who thinks love is a story for her audience. Please don't contact me. I'll send the rest of my things when I'm settled. I read it 3 times. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling. I typed, "You're being dramatic." It was a joke, Noah. I deleted it. Then typed, "You're really ending things over one dinner?" Deleted again. Finally, I just stared at the blank screen until my vision blurred. When I looked up, the waiter was placing my food in front of me. I hadn't even noticed him come back. "Everything okay?" he asked kindly. "Perfect," I said, smiling with teeth that didn't feel like mine. I went home without touching the food. The apartment looked worse in the dark, hollow, stripped of anything that felt human. I walked into the bedroom, half expecting a message waiting for me, but the phone stayed blank. Out of stubbornness or denial, I opened his contact info and clicked on his profile. The status under his name had changed from at work to offline. He'd turned off location sharing, too. I texted Amber. He says it's over. She wrote back instantly, "No, he's bluffing. Guys always do this when they feel small. Give it a few days." But I could tell from the tone of Noah's message, he wasn't bluffing. It wasn't rage, it was finality. For hours, I sat scrolling through his old texts. He'd been patient for months, maybe years. I saw messages I'd ignored. "Do you have to joke about everything? Sometimes it hurts when you make fun of me in front of people." Back then, I'd laugh them off. "Oh, don't be so sensitive," I'd reply. "You know I love you." Now those words looked cruel. Around midnight, I poured a glass of wine and opened my phone again. My post from earlier had almost 200 likes. Amber commented, "Queen energy." Someone else wrote, "If he can't handle you, he doesn't deserve you." For a fleeting moment, I felt powerful again. But then I clicked the viewers list and saw his name, Noah Trent, viewed at 10:42 p.m. That was when I knew. He wasn't coming back to argue or fix it. He'd seen enough. He wasn't watching to understand me anymore. He was watching to remember why he left. By the next week, the story had grown legs. I didn't even know who started it, but somehow my dinner joke turned into a running office rumor. At first, people laughed like they always did, asking, "So, was it really 30 guys, or just for effect?" I gave them the same bright smile and said, "Who's counting?" pretending I was still in control. But the laughter sounded different now, less admiring, more curious, even mean. By Wednesday, Janelle from my team came into my office holding her phone awkwardly. "I thought you should know," she said. "Someone posted a clip from that dinner." I frowned. "What clip?" She showed me her screen. A short video. Amber must have recorded it for fun. There I was, holding a glass of wine, leaning against Noah, saying loud enough for the room to hear, "Lucky number 31 right here." The camera caught him turning away, face tightening just slightly before he forced a smile. The caption read, "When honesty backfires." My stomach twisted. "Delete that. Where did you even find it?" "It's already everywhere," she said softly. "People are talking." I took her phone and watched the clip again. It was less than 15 seconds long, but that was all it took to destroy the version of us I'd been trying to save. After work, I checked social media. The video had been reposted to a gossip account that loved viral relationship drama. Comments poured in. Why do girls always do this? Imagine being the guy. She seems proud of it. Amber texted me an hour later. Okay, don't freak out, but that dinner video is kind of blowing up. People think it's hilarious. I replied, it's not hilarious, it's humiliating. She wrote back, only if you let it be. Own it, Lydia. You've always been unapologetic. Lean into it. I stared at her message for a long time. Then, because I didn't know what else to do, I listened. That night, I posted a story. When your truth becomes everyone's entertainment, make sure you're still the one telling it. I even added a wink emoji. The post got hundreds of likes in an hour, mostly from strangers cheering me on. But the next morning, Derek called. You need to stop posting, he said. Why? It's fine. I'm controlling the narrative. He sighed. You're proving his point. You turned something intimate into content again. Oh, please. He's not even online. He doesn't have to be, Derek said quietly. He saw it. A friend of mine at his old firm sent it to him. I froze. He saw the video? Yeah. He said he wasn't surprised. I wanted to ask what that meant, but Derek had already hung up. Later that day, my landlord emailed me, just confirming the end of lease date Noah submitted. My heart dropped. I opened our tenant portal, and there it was, his cancellation request, dated a week before the dinner. He'd already been planning to leave. I called Derek back immediately. Did he tell you he was moving? No, but that tracks, he said. He doesn't yell, Lydia. He plans. That sentence stuck in my head the rest of the day. He doesn't yell. He plans. At work, people's whispers followed me from room to room. Janelle avoided eye contact, and even my boss pulled me aside. Lydia, maybe take a couple days off, he said carefully. There's too much distraction. Because of a joke? I asked. He looked uncomfortable. Because of the way it's spreading. Clients read the internet too. By the time I got home, the world felt smaller. My apartment seemed colder without his presence, like the heat itself had left with him. I checked my phone obsessively, hoping he'd text something, anything, nothing. That night, I saw a new post under the viral clip. Someone had found Noah's LinkedIn and commented, he left the marketing queen for silence. The post had over 1,000 likes. I closed my phone and sank onto the couch. The worst part wasn't the shame. It was realizing that everyone else understood something I hadn't. He'd never needed to yell, argue, or make a scene. His calm was a strategy. The next morning, I went to his office building, heart racing, ready to beg for a chance to talk. The receptionist looked up as soon as I walked in. Oh, you're Ms. Arlen, she said carefully. Mr. Trent resigned last Monday. He relocated. Relocated where? I'm not sure. He didn't say. I walked out into the cold sunlight, the city noises blurring into a low hum. He'd vanished cleanly, the way only people who plan their exits do. I texted Amber, he's gone, completely. She wrote back a string of shocked emojis, then, he'll come back once it calms down. But deep down, I knew she was wrong. This wasn't about calming down. It was about peace, and he'd already found it. That evening, I sat in bed scrolling through old photos again. I stopped at one from a trip we'd taken to the lake last summer. I was in the foreground, laughing mid-sentence, hand raised dramatically. He was behind me, half out of focus, just watching. That was how it had always been. Me performing, him observing. I used to think his quietness meant I was the interesting one. Now I saw it for what it really was, distance disguised as patience. Before I slept, I opened my messages one last time. The last text he'd sent blinked at me from days ago. Please don't contact me. I typed anyway. You can't just erase someone like this. The message turned blue. Then, seconds later, message not delivered. He'd blocked me. I stared at the screen until it went dark. The silence that followed didn't feel like punishment anymore. It felt like a consequence. 3 days later, I found myself standing outside Noah's parents' house, clutching a half-written letter like a shield. It was a stupid idea. Derek had told me not to go, but I couldn't sit in that empty apartment any longer, surrounded by the ghost of his routines. I needed him to see that I wasn't a monster, that the joke wasn't who I really was. His mother answered the door. She looked the same as always, neat hair, gentle voice, eyes that saw straight through pretenses. "Lydia," she said, clearly surprised. "I wasn't expecting you." "I just wanted to talk to Noah," I said. "Please tell me he's here." She hesitated before opening the door wider. "He isn't," she said softly. "He moved last week, out of state." My breath caught. "What do you mean, moved? For work?" She nodded. "He got an offer a few months ago. I think he was waiting for clarity before taking it." Clarity. That word hit harder than it should have. "Did he tell you what happened?" I asked. She folded her hands. "He didn't have to. People talk." I looked down at the letter in my hand. It suddenly felt childish. Everyone's making it sound worse than it was. I was just joking. He knows I joke when I'm nervous. Her voice stayed calm, too calm. "I think that's the problem, dear. You joke when other people feel pain. You call it honesty, but it's cruelty dressed as charm." I tried to smile, to keep my voice from shaking. "You never liked me." She sighed. "I liked you enough to hope you'd grow up before you lost him." That was the end of the conversation. I thanked her mechanically and left, the letter still crumpled in my hand. When I got home, I opened my laptop. His social accounts were all gone, deleted or deactivated. Even the old photos I'd tagged him in now just showed blank silhouettes. For a moment, I thought about posting something dramatic, a long confession about love, loss, misunderstanding. But I stopped myself. What was the point of a performance with no audience? Instead, I typed his name into the news search. A headline appeared. "Local software engineer joins innovative tech firm in Denver." The article included a quote from him about new beginnings and building quietly. I stared at that last phrase for a long time. Building quietly. I didn't cry. I just closed the laptop and sat there, numb. The next morning, I went to the studio. Janelle was at her desk, avoiding eye contact. "Morning," I said. "Morning," she murmured. I noticed she was scrolling her phone. "What are you looking at?" She hesitated before showing me. Amber had posted a photo on her story, 2 wine glasses, a caption. "Some jokes don't age well." The timing was unmistakable. I laughed, though it came out hollow. "Of course, she wants the last word." Janelle looked uncomfortable. "People online think you two fought. Maybe don't post anything for a while." "I'm not posting anything," I said. "I'm done." I went into my office, closed the door, and sat down. The silence pressed against me. I'd spent so long making noise, jokes, comments, stories, that I didn't know how to exist without it. At lunch, I texted Amber anyway. "Classy move with the post." She replied instantly. "It wasn't about you." I typed, "Then who was it about?" She left it on read. Later that night, I walked to the bar where Noah and I had first met. The bartender recognized me. "Hey," he said, smiling politely. "Haven't seen you two in a while." "Yeah," I said softly. "You won't." I sat at the counter for an hour, nursing one drink and replaying the same loop in my mind. The dinner table, his stillness, the laughter, my own voice echoing like it belonged to someone else. Every moment was burned into me now, sharp and clear. When I left, I took the long way home. The city lights blurred through my tears, though I barely realized I was crying until I felt the cold air on my face. At home, I deleted my social accounts. One by one. No explanation, no farewell post, just silence. It felt strange at first, like erasing part of my identity. But as the screens went blank, something inside me settled. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding the letter I'd tried to give his mother. I read the first line aloud. I only ever meant to make you laugh. The words sounded small, pathetic. I tore it in half. Before I slept, I opened my email. There was one new message, from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line said, "Forwarded mail confirmation." Inside, a note. "Your contact has updated their address. Messages sent here will not be delivered." It was automatic, probably part of his relocation. But the timing felt cruel, almost poetic. Even the internet now had instructions not to let me through. I stared at the message until my vision blurred. He hadn't left to hurt me. He'd left to disappear cleanly, to build quietly. And for the first time, I understood how silence could be the loudest answer of all. I thought deleting my accounts would make the noise stop, but silence has its own way of echoing. By Monday, everyone at work had heard that Noah had moved to Denver. I could feel it in the way people looked at me. Polite smiles, quick glances, sudden silence when I walked into the break room. They didn't have to say anything. I knew what they were thinking. Janelle knocked on my office door mid-morning. "Hey," she said, holding a folder. "These are the reports for the weekend campaign." "Thanks," I said, not looking up. She hesitated. "Also, there's another post going around, from that gossip account." My heart sank. "What now?" "It's not the dinner video this time. It's a clip from one of your old live streams, where you joked about making men audition for real feelings. Someone stitched it with that dinner footage. It's trending again." I forced a laugh. "So now I'm a villain and a meme." Janelle didn't laugh. "You should probably get ahead of it before someone does it for you." After she left, I opened my laptop. She was right. The clip was everywhere. People I'd never met were dissecting my words, debating whether I'd humiliated Noah on purpose or just been another narcissist fishing for attention. I'd spent years calling myself unfiltered, as if that word made cruelty charming. Now the internet was just quoting me back to myself, and there was nothing left to hide behind. That night, I tried to call Amber. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Still nothing. When I texted her, all she wrote back was, "You're trending again. Maybe just let it die this time. Let it die." As if it wasn't my entire life. By the next morning, my inbox was full of cancellations. Clients didn't want to associate with my personal brand. Even my boss called me in. "Lydia," he said, choosing his words carefully, "you've always been great at attention, but right now, it's the wrong kind." "You're letting rumors ruin my career?" I asked, voice rising. He sighed. "It's not just rumors. People saw the video. They saw how he looked at you. That's not gossip. It's evidence." I walked out before he could finish. At home, the walls felt closer than ever. I poured wine, sat at my kitchen counter, and scrolled through the endless stream of comments. This is what happens when cruelty hides behind confidence. Imagine bragging about 30 hookups and thinking it's personality. He's better off in Denver. Every post felt like a mirror showing me a face I didn't recognize. By midnight, I decided to speak. I turned on my phone's front camera and hit record. My voice trembled at first, but I steadied it. "I guess I owe people an explanation," I said. "I made a joke that hurt someone I loved. I thought being honest about my past made me strong. I was wrong. I never meant to humiliate anyone." I paused, then added, "But I'm not a monster. I'm just a woman who used humor to hide from being small." I uploaded it and waited. For a few hours, it almost felt like redemption. People commented with hearts, telling me I was brave. Then the tone shifted. New comments appeared. "She's only sorry because she lost him." That wasn't an apology. It was PR, still making it about herself. By morning, the video had been clipped and mocked. Someone edited my words over the dinner footage with the caption, "I never meant to humiliate anyone." Proceeds to humiliate him in HD. It had 500,000 views before I even woke up. When I came into the office, Janelle avoided eye contact. "You should probably take some time off," she said softly. "I'm fine," I replied. But I wasn't. I couldn't stop checking my phone. Every new notification felt like punishment I couldn't turn off. That afternoon, Derek called. "Lydia, stop feeding it," he said. "You can't win this online." "I just want people to understand." "Understand what?" he asked. "That you used someone's dignity for applause? That you made a joke out of the one person who never tried to hurt you?" I bit my lip, staring at the floor. "You're supposed to be on my side." "I am," he said quietly. "That's why I'm telling you the truth. He didn't leave to punish you. He left to protect himself." I wanted to argue, but no words came. That night, I checked his company's website again. They'd just published an article highlighting their new hires. There he was, Noah Trent, smiling modestly, quoted beneath a short bio. The line under his picture read, "Respect is the quiet foundation of every lasting thing." I read it over and over until the words blurred. He hadn't written it for me, but it still felt like it was aimed straight at the hollow place in my chest. For the first time in days, I didn't open social media. I just sat there in the half-dark, staring at the empty side of the couch where he used to sit, sipping tea instead of wine. The quiet wasn't peaceful. It was dense, suffocating. But beneath it, I could almost feel something shifting, a slow awareness that maybe this wasn't about him leaving. Maybe it was about what I'd built my whole life on. Laughter that cut instead of healed. Truth that entertained instead of connected. The notifications kept buzzing on my phone, but I didn't reach for it. I already knew what they'd say. The audience had turned on me, and for once, I couldn't blame them. For years, I'd used humor like armor. But armor can't love you back, and when you live behind it too long, you forget how to be touched. I stopped sleeping through the night. The apartment felt too quiet, too clean. Every clock ticked like an accusation. Even the walls seemed to echo with my own voice. The jokes, the laughter, the little barbs I used to think made me charming. Now they sounded cruel, childish, hollow. I didn't leave the house for 2 days. The messages had slowed down, but every time I checked my phone, there was something new. Someone had posted a split-screen video. One side was my tearful apology, the other was the dinner clip. The caption read, "The comedian meets her silence." It had more views than my original post ever did. On the 3rd day, there was a knock at the door. When I opened it, Derek was standing there holding takeout and a worried expression. "You look terrible," he said. "Thanks," I muttered, stepping aside. He walked in, setting the food on the counter. "Mom's been calling me nonstop. She's worried about you." "She shouldn't be," I said. "I'm fine." He gave me a look. "You're not. You haven't even taken out the trash." I sank onto the couch. "It's quieter that way." He sat beside me, hands clasped. For a minute, he didn't speak. Then he said, "You know, Noah called me the night he left." I turned to him, startled. "What?" "He didn't want me to take sides," Derek said. "He just said, 'Tell her I'm not angry. I'm tired.'" I stared at the floor. The words hit harder than I expected. "He told me the same thing," I whispered, but I didn't believe him. "He meant it." Derek leaned back, sighing. "You spent so long performing, Lydia, you forgot that not everyone's your audience." I rubbed my eyes, trying not to cry. "I thought he liked my jokes." "He liked you," Derek said, "but you made it hard to see you behind the noise." For once I didn't argue. I just sat there, listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator. When he left, I walked to the bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror. My face looked older, heavier somehow. I barely recognized the woman who used to take selfies mid-laughter, always trying to prove how unbothered she was. That night, I opened my laptop again, I hadn't logged into anything for days, but curiosity got the better of me. The viral clips were still there, though the comment sections had turned quiet. People had moved on to a new scandal, a new face to mock. I scrolled through the silence, feeling an odd mix of relief and sadness. The world was already forgetting me. I clicked on my drafts folder. There was a half-written post I didn't remember starting. Maybe being honest isn't brave if you use it to hurt people who never asked to be part of your story. I hovered over the post button, but closed the laptop instead. There was no point anymore. Some truths didn't need applause. The next morning, sunlight slipped through the blinds. For the first time in weeks, I made breakfast, just toast and eggs. The air smelled normal again. I sat at the counter, eating slowly, no music, no scrolling. It felt strange, almost peaceful. Afterward, I went into the living room and started boxing things up. Old photos, decorations, clothes I didn't wear. The pile of memories grew fast, half of them from when Noah and I were together. I found a small notebook at the bottom of a drawer. Inside were lists, grocery items, weekend plans, movie ideas. On one page, he'd scribbled a quote I'd forgotten. "Kindness lasts longer than charm." I traced the words with my finger. He'd always written little things like that, gentle reminders I never took seriously. Now they felt like messages from someone wiser than I'd ever been. By afternoon, I called the landlord to end the lease. "Moving out next month," I said. He asked, "Forwarding address?" I hesitated. Not yet. When I hung up, I sat by the window, watching the city move below me. People hurrying, laughing, living. None of them knew me, and for once, I didn't mind. That evening, I brewed tea instead of pouring wine. I opened my phone one last time, not to scroll, but to look at his last text again. I'm not staying to see what the next one looks like. I whispered the words aloud, not bitterly this time, just quietly. You didn't have to. Outside, the sun was setting, casting gold across the buildings. The world kept moving, indifferent but steady. I closed my eyes and breathed. For the first time, I didn't feel like performing, defending, or proving anything. I just felt still. Before bed, I wrote in my notebook, "Sometimes the silence isn't punishment, it's the lesson." Then I set it on the nightstand, turned off the light, and lay down in the dark. The quiet felt different now, less like loneliness, more like peace. And though I didn't say it aloud, I knew that somewhere out there, he had found the same kind. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.